Would you rather spend $10,000 on graded cards, or would you rather spend $1,000 on raw cards and end up with $10,000 in graded cards? If the second one sounds best to you, then stay tuned, because that's what this video is all about. If you want to make the most money in sports cards, then you're going to need to get good at grading raw cards to submit to the grading services. A PSA 10 Gem Mint graded version of a card often sells for 10 times as much as the raw version. Take this Ichiro Suzuki rookie card, for example. The 2001 Topps base Ichiro Suzuki rookie card can be found online in a decent example for between $30 and $50. The PSA 10 version of this card sells routinely for over $1,000. That's a 20 times markup or more. That is a dramatic return on investment. This is something that anyone can do, and in this video, I'm excited to bring you the basics of how to get started doing just that. But quickly, before we do, I want to give a huge thank you to all the people that have subscribed to the channel, and just let you know that if you'd like to like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It helps my channel, and this channel is all about bringing information to the hobby. Bring information to people about making good buying decisions to make the most money in sports cards so that they stay in the hobby and are around to make it more fun for all of us. The main areas a grading service looks at when judging the condition of a card are centering, corners, edges, and surface condition. Flaws in any of these areas will take away from the overall score or grade of the card. Every year and design are judged a little bit differently, so they can give leniency to vintage cards, cards that notoriously have bad centering, or designs like Fleer Metal from the late 90s that are just super condition sensitive. To get a grade of a Gem Mint 10 though, the card needs to be in near perfect condition. So my first tip to you is, if you're not super confident that the card you submit is going to get the grade that you want, then I wouldn't pay to submit it. A card doesn't have to be a Gem Mint 10 to have more value in a graded form. Depending on the card, 8s, 7s, some vintage cards graded a 3 can bring hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind. But overall, make sure it's worth submitting before you pay to have it graded. The first thing I would do if I was learning to grade raw cards is to go to psacard.com. There, they have a guide where they show you what they expect when it comes to different types of grades. There's a link to the guide down in the description. And while you're there, if you're already getting value from this video, then again, please like and subscribe so I can get this out to more people.
Hey guys, before we get into PSA's grading standards, I wanted to stop by this part of the website where it shows the benefits of PSA grading and just cover a couple of the main ones. So, security. PSA encapsulates every trading card in a tamper-evident, sonically sealed case. That's great and everything, and they do look good. But the main thing is they protect them from damage. So you can drop these, bang them around, whatever, and it's not going to hurt the card inside. Value's another big one. So PSA will almost always sell at a premium over BGS, and they will both sell at a premium over SGC right now. I can't tell you why, other than it's what people like and what they trust. PSA is considered the optimal grading authority. Another one that they don't have on here, but I think is really important, is authenticity. So when you get one of these cards graded, they are guaranteeing that this is an authentic card. So if it's a vintage card or a really high dollar card, you want people to know that this is authentic. This is not a reprint or a forgery. It's not fake. If we go down to the bottom of the page here, we'll see a section under customer service that says grading standards. That's where we start. When you go to grading standards, they have card grading ticket grading and pack grading. You can get tickets from games graded or even full packs before they're opened. This is generally for vintage wax packs. In card grading, they give you a Gem Mint 10, a Mint 9, a Near Mint 8, and all the way down through a Poor, which is a 1. There are also qualifiers. So if you see OC, that stands for off center. So this card is dramatically off center to the point to where they have to put a qualifier in there that says OC. ST stands for staining, and this identifies any type of stains on the cards. PD stands for print defect, and if you see these little yellow circles, that would identify a print defect. OF, out of focus. This card is out of focus. MK is marks. So somebody probably, took a pen and marked up here. So that's what mark means. Somebody took a pen or a pencil and marked on the card. MC is miscut. So that's even like more than off center. This card isn't just off center, but it was miscut at the factory. It's dramatically off center to the point to where they would call it miscut. A lot of times you'll see these where the next card on the page is showing on the edge of where it's miscut. These actually have a collector base, and some miscut cards can go for a lot of money. If we go into the grades, I think most people are going to be interested in the top grades, so that's what I'm going to cover here. And all you got to do is drill down into view details. And when we pop up, a Gem Mint 10 is a card that is virtually a perfect card. Attributes include 4 perfectly sharp corners, sharp focus, and full original gloss. A PSA Gem Mint 10 card must be free of staining of any kind, but an allowance may be made for a slight printing imperfection if it doesn't impair the overall appeal of the card. The image must be centered on the card with a tolerance not to exceed approximately 55-45 to 60-40% on the front and 75-25% on the reverse or back. This is important to note. So first of all, a PSA 10 doesn't have to be a completely perfect card. All right, they do allow for some print imperfections, and the centering only has to be between 55-45 and 60-40. So on this edge here, there could be 40% on this edge and 60% of the total between the two on this edge, which for me, I would normally think that would be a PSA 9, but this is what they say. And then on the back, a lot of people will look at the backs, and if they see 75-25, which would be about like right here probably, they would think that that card would not get a 10, but oftentimes they do. If everything else is perfect, and everything else has to be perfect, but if everything else is perfect, these somewhat off-center cards can get a PSA 10. And I think that's really important to note. So we're looking for a 10, but in identifying what is a 10, we want to look at what is a 9, and what is an 8, and what is a 7. And the more you go through these, and the more you go through identifying getting an eye for what makes a 10, what makes a 9, what makes an 8, what makes a 7, that's going to give you a lot more opportunity in how you buy cards and how you submit cards. Because there's a lot of cards out there that you can buy for super dirt cheap. Spend $20 to get them graded, and they come back an 8 and they're worth $60, $70, $80. You know, you might be able to pick these up for $10, spend $20 to get them graded, and make 150% profit off of that $30. So in a nine, they consider a superb condition card that exhibits only one of the following minor flaws. So that's the kicker here. A 9 can only have one of the following minor flaws: a very slight wax stain on the reverse, a minor printing imperfection, or slightly off-white borders. Centering must be approximately, okay, so I think it's saying those are the minor flaws that it can contain, all right? Centering must be approximately 60-40 to 65-35 or better on the front, and 90-10 or better on the reverse. So again, I'm pretty sure it can contain one of these flaws and can have this type of centering. So 65-35 is more than what this card is right here, I would think. That's actually probably 65-35 right here. But 90-10 on the back, a lot of people would look at the back of an otherwise perfect card and say, there's no way that could get a 9, it would have to get an 8. But 90-10, I mean, you're talking about just a little bit of white showing on one side, and then the other side all border, and that card can get a 9, you know. And you want to take into account the borders all the way around. It's a lot easier with a card with a border than with a borderless card, but there are tricks like going off of, say, the corner of a logo or something, checking the distance between that logo and one edge and the logo and the bottom or the top. Okay, so that's important to note. If everything else is great on a card, then it can have some pretty significant front off center and some very significant centering issues on the back and still come back in a PSA 9. Now, in a PSA 8, a PSA near mint 8 is a super high-end card that appears mint 9 at first glance, but upon closer inspection, the card can exhibit the following: a very slight wax stain on the reverse, slightest frayings at one or two corners, a minor printing imperfection, and or slightly off-white borders. Centering must be approximately 65-35 to 70-30 or better on the front, and 90-10 or better on the reverse. So again, they make a little more concession on what an 8 is over a 9 and what a 9 is over a 10. But with time, with practice, you can figure these out. So actually, all of the examples in these on down the line, you can see kind of these borders are a little bit off-white. That corner is not quite perfect. Neither is that one. Really, neither is that one. The centering on this card is pretty good. It's definitely within that tolerance, you know. And but this would be considered an 8, and I would say this is an 8 because it looks like we've got a little bit of off-whiteness around the bottom here and some corner issues. So that card's an 8. Regardless of the centering, really. If you have those issues, that card's going to come back an 8. Another thing you can do is go on eBay and search listings of the card that you might be submitting. So right here, I've got pulled up already. Ichiro, number 726, PSA 10, 2001 tops. Okay, so this is a PSA 10, right? So maybe I think a card could be a PSA 10, and I'm more concerned with like centering. So if I look at this card on eBay, it looks like the top edge might have a little chipping, right? Okay. The centering is really good. If I look at the back, I see just a slight bit of maybe chipping on one corner and centering. These cards in particular were very condition sensitive, which is why they sell for so much in a PSA 10. because of the dark border and because these cards when stored had a tendency to stick together, you don't have as many examples that survived in a PSA 10 format. So a lot of these cards, when they were stored for the last 20 years, would do what is called bricking. They would stick together and make just a brick of cards. And it's very tough to get those cards apart without some surface loss, surface damage to the cards. I've got about 4 of these that I'm getting ready to submit, and at least 3 of them have a little bit of surface damage. I'm still going to submit them because even in an 8, these cards go for $50, $60, $75. And I think with Ichiro almost guaranteed to make the Hall of Fame in the next couple of years, I'm fine with that. If I get these cards back in even a 7, that's great. 5 years from now, maybe that 7's worth $100 because Ichiro's in the Hall of Fame and he's always had a huge following. So let's say I was concerned about that card being less than a 10. So I'm going to go in here. Here's a PSA 7 Ichiro. All right. Well, you can see some definite chipping here on the bottom. Again, a pretty well centered card. Let's look at what the back looks like. Looks like some chipping on the bottom at the back. Maybe a soft corner here in the top right. But overall, this is a pretty good looking card for a 7. Definitely some off centering from left to right on this card. We've got a little bit of a soft top right corner. Again, some chipping. There's a soft corner on the bottom left and some bottom chipping. So it looks like we've got about 3 just not perfect corners, some chipping, and then we've got off centering on the back. So they take the whole card into example when they grade these cards. And they're supposed to base everything off eye appeal. So even if, it's got a little bit of chipping, it's got a little bit of corner issues, it's got a little bit of surface damage, like all that's going to be taken into consideration to give it a final grade.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then I would recommend this video here on my top 5 NBA basketball cards to buy right now. I go into detail on how I evaluate these cards, and I think it's important to know the variables that go into what makes a card potentially a really good investment. Thanks a lot. Please subscribe. Have a great day. Peace out.